Okay, so in this video we're going to put together our Merry Christmas gift box, and let's just begin by doing a little pre-prep here. We've got this beautiful little banner here, and we have a little caption. So let's just get that put together real quick. As you can see, we've got a little shadow layer here. The Merry is going to go here, and then there's the Christmas that goes right next to it. So this is a pretty delicate little piece. You want to just get little dots, little tiny little dots of glue on here. If you get really acquainted with your glue bottle, it is possible to get tiny little dots like this on there. And you don't need to worry about putting it all over the design, just in a few spots throughout. And it should stay nicely for you. Just make sure that you get some all the way on both ends. Okay, and if you feel that maybe you have too much in some spots, you just put it down on your surface and just dab it a little bit, and that's going to actually help spread that glue out into some other areas as well. Okay, so let's place the Merry portion down first, and we are putting it on white, so if you get a little glue that kind of spills out, it's not the end of the world. Okay, just kind of nudge anything that may need to be nudged, and just push down. And there is the Merry. Now, let's do Christmas. This one's a little bit longer. Now, if you have some spray adhesive and you'd rather use that for a piece like this, it may be a good idea because it is pretty delicate, but okay, so I've got my glue on the Christmas portion, and let's go ahead and lay that down into place. Just do your best to get that nice and aligned. There we go, and just push down. And now the eye, I'm going to actually use a tiny little rhinestone for the top of the, whoa, I lost my rhinestone. Yeah, we're going to put a little rhinestone there for the letter I, if I can find it now. Okay. Usually use my little pick-me-up tool, but I just don't have it on me right now and don't feel like getting up to get it, so I'm going to try to do this with my fingers, and that's why that tool is really cool. It really helps, but I was able to do that okay. Okay. So we've got the Merry Christmas. What we can go ahead and do is get this glued down onto our little banner here. And the Y is going to be hanging off just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to glue it down pretty much like this. Try to get it nice and centered on your piece. Go ahead and put your glue on the back of this. Make sure you get it out to all the little nooks and crannies here so that it doesn't come peeling away. That looks good. I'm just going to smooth that out and dab it a little bit. Okay. So again, the Y is going to be hanging off just a little bit, and just eyeball it. Make sure that you have it nice and centered, and pop it down like that. That looks good. Okay. All right, I'd say that looks pretty good. Nice and classy font. We got the nice glitter going on there. Okay, you can put our little green piece of this banner down, and it's going to go like that, and that's going to just give the illusion of seeing the underside of this little banner. Okay, so let's get our glue in the bottom of this piece here. And let's glue that into place. Okay, and again, just make sure that you're getting this lined up correctly. Let's take a look at the photo on the website if for some reason the video isn't getting the point across, but I think you get where it goes. Shouldn't be that bad. It's a pretty easy box to assemble, as are all the boxes in this new bundle. Something nice and quick, because I know especially this time of year, we are scrambling to get all of our ducks in a row. If you're hosting or if you're attending, if you're making a lot of handmade gifts. Okay, so our pre-prep on the banner is done. We have a beautiful little snowflake here, and we've got the white glitter. I'm gonna grab some turquoise ink, and I'm using my ink applicator here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just dust the tips of this with some turquoise. Kind of make it a little more festive. And it's always kind of difficult to work sections like this when you can't get your fingers in there. That's why I like this little pad, because it definitely gives me a little bit more flexibility. And I'm not overly concerned about being perfect with this process here. I just want to give this a little bit of just a subtle ink job right along the edge. It doesn't need to be perfect, and then I can also just do the surface near the tips so it kind of looks like the snowflake is freezing up and just really cold. And give it that illusion. Okay. Now the only time that I'm not the biggest fan of this applicator, because it is cotton based and there's a lot of fibers on it, but that's what I love about it, because it gives me the look that I want. But when I'm inking glitter, it kind of snags on it a little bit and it frays, but it still works. And occasionally what I'll do is I'll just take my scissors and just kind of trim off some of that part that frayed, and just keep on going. Just really random, strategic but random, if that makes any sense. I mean, we're just kind of working the tips of this, but my stroke is pretty random as far as where I'm inking and how I'm inking. So don't be afraid to just get creative and give it the look that you want. Just hit those edges, give it a little bit of a blue tint. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so we're gonna put that down onto this foil paper here. This is pretty thick. Okay. All right, so let's flip this over and let's get our glue on this piece here. I'm gonna work the easy parts here first, or I can make just really quick strokes, and then I'll probably just add some dots in a few of these places just to make sure we anchor down as much of this as possible. Okay. There we go. Okay, and just go ahead and line this up accordingly. This is kind of a little shadow piece for your snowflake. Okay, get it nice and centered, press down. Let me get this ink out of the way before I make a mess. All right. There we go. Okay. All right, so our star is done. We got our pre-prep done there. We got our pre-prep done there. And what we can do is do a little more pre-prep here. We've got these little panels for the side of these. We're going to need to train these straight ones, so we're going to put those on later. The front and back of this, you'll notice that we do have some little indicators here to help you with the alignment of these pieces. Even without the indicators, it's pretty obvious that you want this to line up nice and flush with this piece here. So I'm going to do this while this piece is flat. It's just a lot easier to work with things when they're flat. There we go. Get our glue on there. And you know, the little identifiers do help. They help kind of ensure that we don't get glue all over the place. Okay, so that looks good. We'll push that down and force that glue into the fibers there. There we go. All right, so that one's good. Let's do the other one here. And these are both identical pieces, so it doesn't matter which one's which. Try to get that glue out to that little doily area. And not doily, scallop, sorry. Okay. I'm just kind of nudging that, making sure that it's nice and flush there on the edge. And I'm just going to add some nice pressure with my thumb there to get that glue to bond. Okay, and that really strengthens up these pieces. Okay, all right, so I'm going to put these aside for a second. We can go ahead and assemble the bottom, the actual container itself. So let's do that. Okay, and what we're going to do, we got glitter everywhere. I don't know if you guys saw that article about how scientists are trying to get rid of glitter. I kind of have mixed feelings about that, but this is the bottom. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to connect these two pieces like this, okay, to make 4 sides of our box. So what we want to do is get our glue on this large tab here, get one line semi-close to the edge, and I'm going to spread that out, get it right out to the extremities there, and make sure that it's right up to the edge of that paper. And it is freezing in Chicago today, and I accidentally turned my heat off in here, and I had to let it warm up a little bit, and it's still just freezing out here. Okay, we can fold this in half like onto itself, and that kind of helps us make sure that we've got this lined up properly, because these should be lined up nicely. Okay, I'm just pushing down here. Okay, now this is a liner piece, this extra little rectangle. We're going to put that inside of our box to kind of reinforce it. All right, so now what you can do is you can fold this piece over and fold this piece over, and we're going to join these two. So we can put glue on this tab here again, get one little line out to the edge there. Okay, and I'm going to spread that out. And just close that up. Give it a second to partially set. And then you can fold it onto itself like that. Just to make sure that this thing should lay flat. And that's how you know that You got it right. Check your bottom here. That should line up nicely as well. Okay, so there's the base of the box. We already have one side on, so all we need to do is close this up, and we can do that by gluing these tabs down. I'm going to just start on the inside here, get my glue on there, and then do one nice line right up to the edge. And we're going to spread that out as well. Okay, I'll go ahead and flare these out a little bit. So as you push down, you grab more of that surface area. For those of you that watch me regularly, you probably hear me say that all the time. So I apologize if I sound like a broken record, but bear in mind that we're constantly getting new people and I don't want to leave anything out. So you can just be like, I know, Leo, I know. I know. All right, you can flip this over, then you can push from the inside to get that to stick. And if for some reason you have some seams that don't look perfect, we can clean that up. And let me show you what I do here. Just grab some scrap paper. I'm going to cut out my little pH strip. That's what I'm calling it. Okay, I got my little strip. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue down onto a little pad or whatever, scrap piece of paper. And I'm going to dip just one side of this scrap paper into some glue. And I'm just going to pop it right in there and paint one of the sides with some extra glue. And I'm just going to push and hold that until it sets. Okay, and that's going to give me a nice clean seam. Make everything look really nice and professional. And then you can just kind of look around your box. And if you have some other areas like that, just repeat. Do the same thing. Just pop that thing right in there, paint some extra glue in there. Rub off any excess that may have come squirting out and just hold that in place until it sets. Okay, so the base of our box looks pretty good. You can go ahead and put some glue on the inside. Doesn't have to be a beautiful job, no one's going to see it. Take your other rectangular piece, pop it in there, and just push that down. Get it nice and in there. And that's just going to help reinforce our actual box. Okay, so the box is done. Now we just need to create the lid for it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to assemble our lid. And the lid is made up of 3 pieces here. This piece with the little notch is going to be at the bottom on the left side, and this one's going to be on the right side. I guess it doesn't really matter. They're both the same size, same shape and everything, so they're interchangeable. Let's go ahead and fold our little score marks there. We're going to attach this piece like this. Okay, so we're going to begin by getting our glue on this tab here and get that glue out to the edge there. Okay. And again, working flat whenever possible. I want to get that nice and lined up. Make sure that you got it in the right spot, butting up against the little score marks there. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half and just kind of nudge it, making sure that it's nice and flush right here. And that looks good. Okay, and we're going to repeat the same process here on the other side. Nice line of glue, get a little bit out to the edge, and Just gonna spread that thin. It's gonna help it set a lot faster. Okay, and just pop that right under, line it up, and push down. And then you can flip it over onto itself and get that in place. Okay. All right, so we have, the box is going to be like this. Okay, it's going to be curved on top, and it's going to curve out a little bit on the sides as well. So what we want to do at this point is just grab and bend our little tabs in, and this part, it's going to take a little bit of time because we're going to take our time and glue these tabs pretty much one at a time here, maybe two at a time, just to be sure that we get the right shape and to be sure that everything sets nicely so that it doesn't come undone. Get all these tabs folded. Okay, and we can begin by grabbing one of these pieces here. Doesn't matter which one, they're both the same. And I'm going to flip it over, and this is how it's going to work. Okay, it's going to get glued down like this. We're going to start at the bottom, work our way up, and it's going to go nice and smooth for us. Okay, so I think the best way of doing this is to get your glue on this large tab here, get it out to the edge, and begin by getting this lined up with the edge there. Make sure you've got it nice and flush at the bottom, nice and flush on the sides. Let me move my big head out of the way, and just push that down and hold it until this tab is nice and anchored here. Okay, so we've got this tab anchored, and we're just gonna go up the line here and get the rest of this glued down. So what you can do, you can still work on this flat. I'm gonna go ahead and put glue on maybe two of these tabs at a time here. Okay. And again, just push down. If you get a little bit of glue that shoots out, you can go ahead and just wipe it off. And then, as you can see here, I'm just angling this to meet the curve of this bottom piece. So you can see it's starting to angle. It's very simple. Okay, I can still put this down flat for now. Well, actually, let's not make it flat. Okay, so what you can do is bring these tabs down, and I'm just gonna do little dots near the edge so that I don't make a mess. And I am going to just finish this up with these tabs here. Okay, and again, just make sure that you're following that natural curve. So I'm looking, got my head on this side here, just making sure that I've got that aligned properly, and I'm pushing down, and I'm just moving this until it lines up with the curve of this piece. Okay, and then we can wrap this in and get that top one lined up as well. Okay, so you can see I've got a little area down here that didn't grip perfectly, but there you go. You can kind of see what that looks like. Okay, and now that this thing is mostly anchored, what we're going to do is we're going to take and just lift up these little tabs here. Okay, it may help to just put this down like this and get your glue right on these tabs. Try to get it out to the edge. And I'm just going to do a few at a time here. I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to show you this angle here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just making sure that I'm getting it aligned with this curve. And I'm just doing one tab at a time here. And just following that natural curve there. It's pretty straightforward. This part's going to take a little bit more effort, and then the top one's just going to go on, and we can get our hand in there and push that all down. Okay, so now we're about halfway done here. I'm going to flip this like this. I'm going to peel these tabs back, and I'm going to get my glue on these tabs. And my friend Chris from Fort Myers sent me this thing. I thought it was an oversized shot glass, and I don't remember telling her that I like to have a drink occasionally, but it turns out that she sent it to me so I can put my glue bottle in there so that I don't have to keep messing with my glue, and all the glue will just kind of stay towards the bottom, but I'm just not used to using it yet, so it's not second nature yet, but I'm working on it, Chris, I promise. Okay, so again, just following the natural curve. It helps to have like a, something with some contrast on your table to help you visualize where the little piece ends and where it begins. Okay, so I'm just following that curve. And it's looking really good so far, and everything's matching up nicely. Okay, just pushing down. I'll lift this up and get rid of any little bit of excess glue that I may have on there. Okay, so that's looking pretty sharp. And that just leaves this part here. Again, just gonna naturally give this a little bit of a curve and a little bit of a bend to get that anchored in place. Okay, now that we're approaching the end here, I'm going to put the glue on as many tabs as I think I can get it on. I'm going to do all these small tabs here and then leave the big one for last. So I'm going to put that back on its surface like that, and I think this way is easiest for me. And just get your head in there. Make sure that you're following that natural curve. And just push down to get those tabs nice and anchored in place. Okay, that looks good. All right. Okay, so last but not least here, we've got this tab. I'm going to go and get my glue on that tab there. And I'm going to try to get that out to the edge nicely. Put that down, should line up perfectly, and it does. And just press down. Okay, so there we go. That is what your interior should look like. And that just leaves this piece here. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing and just work our way along this piece here. Get this glued down. Well, let me spread that out. Thin it out a little bit. Okay, and get that nice and aligned. Nice and flush up to the edge. I'm working with it like this for now, just to get that first tab anchored, partially set. I'm going to flip it and then push down from the inside. Okay. All right, so at this point, I'm going to put glue on this next set of tabs here, and then put
that down. And just like before, it's going to be a little difficult for me to show you because of the angle of everything, but I'm just working that curve, pushing down on one tab at a time here, just making sure that it's hugging the angle here. There we go. And just push down. Make sure that that gets a good hold. Okay, so you can see I've got it going along that curve there. And there's looks like a little area here that I want to go in and fix. I'm going to throw some glue down on my little scrap ink pad here. Get a little bit of glue on just a scrap piece of paper. And I'm going to paint the inside of this with a little extra glue so that I can close this up nicely. I'm going to put that flat on my surface and just push down to get that to look nicer. Okay, there we go. All right, so that leaves the top and the side. And you think you pretty much get the picture here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to work from, what we're going to do is I'm going to put glue on these tabs here that are accessible and get this anchored down and then close up the other side from the inside. So just putting glue on these tabs here. As many as I can. Okay. And again, just make sure that you're getting that curve. Get it right out to the edge. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and begin with these tabs here. It's always good to work on the side where things are already anchored because it just almost just flows naturally and the piece just kind of takes on the correct form almost automatically. Okay, just kind of pushing down and pushing up from inside. Okay, so when you get to this point, if you're having a hard time getting your glue bottle tip in there, again, you can use my little pH strip paintbrush thingy and just take and just spread that glue onto the tabs using this little handy dandy tool. And it is pretty precise and won't make a mess. And then you just follow that natural curve there to get that in place, and just be patient while the glue sets. Okay. And this part's actually going to be covered up by our little banner, so even if it's not immaculate, it's still going to look good. So I'm going to grab a little bit more glue here and get it on the next set of tabs. Just paint it right onto the edge there, because that's where you really, I mean, try to get as much of the little tab as you can there, but pay particular attention to the edges of those tabs. Okay, and again, just follow that natural curve and get it right on there, and just push down and hold it in place. You may need to stick your hand in there a little bit, kind of push it out, and just hold that in place until it sets for you nicely. Okay, that looks good. And last but not least, we have one more little side here, and I'm going to continue using my little makeshift tool here to get that glue in there. Again, this is just a scrap piece of cardstock that I'm using to just paint these tabs with glue, and it works really nicely. Actually spreads it on there very uniformly, and it just gets the job done. And you can even kind of use it to spread it out and thin it out, and again, just follow that natural curve of this piece here. Make sure you give it ample time to set. Kind of just nudging it as I go. Just making sure that everything is nice and lined up. You can get your hand in there to push those tabs up as well, so that you get more of that surface area sticking. Okay, there we go. And that just leaves, well, 2 tabs and a really long tab. So I'm going to get one more little glob of glue on here and just get my glue onto this piece, lift this up just gently, and paint that glue onto the tab. I need a lot more glue. Okay. And for this tab, just make sure that you get enough glue on it. It's a good way to do this and make it work and not make a mess and not bend things and not break things. Okay, and just push that down right onto the tab. Make sure that you get everything nice and lined up. And there you go. Beautiful. I'm just kind of pushing from the inside as well, just to get that to hold. Okay. All right, so this part's done. So that should slide in perfectly. All right, now this thing is nice and structurally sound. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we've got some little panels here that we need to put on the side. Again, we do have some little indicators here that help you with the placement of these. So let's get our glue on this piece here. And I didn't want to do this earlier because there's a lot of bending going on with these pieces, and I didn't want to mess this up. So just line it up with those little indicators there and just smooth that out. That's going to help make this box a little more sturdy as well and lovely. Okay. That looks pretty good. We've got maybe one little area here that I want to tidy up a bit. Get a little extra glue under this section here. I don't think I got enough. And just push that down so it's nice and flush there. Okay, flip that over. And next side, let's get our glue on this piece. Nice and thin, and work some of that glue out onto these little scallop pieces as well. We want those to hold nicely. Whoops. I am out of control today. I need to make a rule where I don't start crafting until after a certain time. We go again, just following the little guides there. There's 2 little guides on the top, 2 little guides on the bottom to kind of help you with the placement of this piece, and it's specifically showing you where the little scallop piece needs to be in order to sit correctly. Okay, but that looks good. That looks really good. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our little banner on here, and I want to zot this or use some foam squares for this portion. Okay, so I'm going to put foam squares up to the edge here, and then put just one in the center, and then maybe one here, not too close to the edge. maybe bring it in a little bit so you don't see them. And then kind of eyeball, I'm gonna leave those there. And I'm gonna put 2 in this area here. And then we're gonna work some along the bottom part of this. The edges kind of hang off, so you don't want to get too close to the edge. Peel these off. Okay. This is a super fancy little box, but it's super cute. Okay, peel these off as well. And then we're gonna put our little banner on here. Okay, so just like I said, just make sure that you get this nice and flush at the top, nice and centered. So I'm kind of looking at the tails of the little banner here to ensure that I've got that placed correctly. There we go. And it's got nice dimension, a nice little shadow showing through there. Okay, and then put our little snowflake on. That is going to go right about there. Is going to be kind of going over the little banner part. And I'm also going to use my foam squares for this. Let me bring this back here for a second so I know where to put. Okay, so you don't want to put any foam squares on these segments of the snowflake, but everywhere else. So just the top 2 you don't want to mess with. But we're going to put one here. The top 2 we're skipping. I'm going to put one here and here and here. And then we're going to put a few just throughout the center here, just to make sure that this thing stays nice and anchored. All right, so let's peel these off. And all that's left to do after this is add a nice bow, and we can call it a day. All right, so let's get that nice and centered. That looks pretty good right there. There we go. Okay, look at that box. That's a beauty. All right, so aside from the bow, I'm probably going to add some rhinestones to the snowflakes. So kind of keep an eye on that. Take a look at the final photo to see, what we've done. And let's go ahead and put our bow together here. Let me get my Bowdabra. Okay, so I have some pretty ribbon here that has wire in it. Okay, so it's gonna make posing this thing really easy for us. Let me just cut that straight. We do want to leave a little bit of a tail on this. Okay, and we're gonna do 2 loops on each side, and each loop is gonna be 3 inches. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this like this so that when I create my loop, I'm seeing the pattern. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in like this. I want it about 3 inches on each side. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I need to put my wire in first. I always forget to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna get some wire on here, tuck it under, and just trim that off. Okay, there we go. And again, I'm gonna leave a little bit for my tail. That's probably overkill, but that's okay. All right. And there's so much glitter everywhere. Starting to almost agree with these scientists who say that we should get rid of glitter. Maybe there's an alternative. All right, so I got 3 inches on each side here, and I'm gonna put this in strategically so that it shows the pattern on this side, and then I'm flipping it so that as I create my loop here on this side, I'm also seeing the pattern. Okay, so we're going to pop that in like this and start again. We got 3 inches on that side. Oh, glitter. Some stuff is just way more glittery than others. Okay, now I'm seeing a problem here. I want to make sure that this loop is consistent. All right, so there's my next loop. Make sure I got about 3 inches there. Put this in strategically so that you can see the underside here. And then flip that back. And then there's my other tail. So now let's just kind of play with this a little bit. Just scrunch that down a little bit so it doesn't move. And just playing with my bow a little bit, just making sure that it's consistent and equal on both sides. That looks pretty good. Okay, let me cut my tail. Get rid of that. That looks good. Tail is gonna be shortened up a little bit here in a minute, but I'd say that looks good. I'm gonna take my wire and I'm going to tie this. Get it nice and tight so that my bow doesn't move around. There we go. And we're gonna trim the wire. There we go. And now you can leave it like this, or if you want, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring my tails down. That looks nice. And I'm gonna fluff this up after I actually get it glued, hot glued to the top of my box, but you always wanna kind of fluff these out and give them some depth and dimension. You want them to be impressive. You don't want them to be too flat. Give them some life. Okay, there we go. There's a nice pretty little bow. All right, so you can put it on like that if you want, or what you can also do is grab some more of your ribbon and cut just a little piece here. What I want to do is wrap this around the middle here. Okay, so let me grab a nice long piece, maybe like that, and spread my tails away. And what I want to do is kind of wrap this in the center, just to kind of make it prettier. And take a look at what that looks like from the front. That's cute. I kind of like it scrunched up a little bit too. Okay, so got my hot glue gun all ready here, and I'm going to put some hot glue right in the center on the back of this. I don't know why that came out brown. I think it's probably just been sitting too long. And I'm just going to pop that right on there, just hold it in place, and take a look at the front here. That looks good. I'm going to cut off a little bit excess here and throw a little bit more glue on the back of this. Just rub that off and just take a look from the front as I push that back onto that hot glue. And that looks cute. And my finger is on fire right now. Okay. I don't like hot glue. All right, and I need a little touch-up glue back here for this little piece that wants to squirm around. Let me just clean that up. Okay. All right, so that looks good. And again, once I get this glued on, I'm gonna fluff this up a little bit and then, you know, kind of determine, let me grab this piece here. Our bow is going to actually go on the top of the box like this. Okay, let me put this down on the side so you can actually see it. It's going to go like this. What you want to do is just kind of determine how long you want your tail. I'm going to want mine to terminate, probably about here, I'd say. And then this one's going to flare up or sit however it wants to sit, really, like that. Okay, and then what you can do is, and I always mess this up because I forget which way to fold it, but if you fold this in half and you just cut it at an angle, you get a little tail like that. And see, I'm just, for some reason, it's just, I can never remember how to do it properly, but I think I got it this time. There we go. Got a nice beautiful tail on both sides, and then we're just gonna hot glue that right to the top of our box, and you are all set.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.